Welcome back to Country Tough with Brandy Von Holton. Today I have someone that I have never laid eyes upon. I don't know if I'm talking to somebody that's 5 foot tall or 6'5". I have no idea. But I found this person on social media, but I found their content, okay? So today you're going to get to see me do something I've never done, because usually I have like a relationship or I have just met the heck out of this person that I interview. But today I just know that this is the right person to interview. But this is James King, and he's with King's Excavation. And the way I found him, I don't know if it was a Facebook reel or if it was TikTok, but they were doing some really nice stuff that's helping the world out. So, James, welcome to Country Tough with Brandy Von Holton.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay, so the thing that had caught my eye was there's a young man, a young boy. I mean, he's probably, 12, maybe? 12 years old? I don't know.
He's 11, yep.
He's 11, okay. All right. Oh, okay, I feel like I should get snaps in a snap cup for that. Got the biggest mullet his mullet is going to win mullet awards, okay? And if you don't know what a mullet is, it's business in the front, party in the back, and he's got a lot of party. So, but this boy's mullet, it was the first thing that caught my eye. But then 2 seconds into listening to it, you realize that this boy has went through some hardships, and y'all were helping in the area where he's at. So go ahead and let's tell these people how I met you and what y'all have been doing.
In order to kind of tell you about Draven, that's the young man's name, kind of helps to know a little bit about us. My name's James King. I'm one of the owners of King's Excavation and Land Management. We're based in Forestell, Missouri, in the farthest reaches of the St. Louis metro. And we are a residential and commercial excavating contractor. So we do a lot of new home basement excavations and utilities, a lot of land clearing and site preparation for residential and commercial. And that, we could go into all the specifics of what exactly we do, but for the sake of this story, it's not particularly important. But I am 28 years old, and we have been in business for coming on 4 years now.
Okay.
And I have always been a strong believer in the power of social media, both from a promotional standpoint and just from an entertainment standpoint as well.
Right.
And so, being that I'm young and in the industry that I'm in, having a strong social media presence is something that companies in our industry aren't typically very well acquainted with. Historically, it's not something that an excavation contractor would be too particularly worried about doing. And we've invested quite a bit of time and money into our social media and our video production, content creation side of things. And it's been super beneficial for us financially as a company, but branding, and then most recently aiding in the ability to do some good for the folks down in North Carolina that were affected by Hurricane Helene.
Okay, so this is where I met him at, was I had seen a video where he is going and helping people from damage from the hurricane. So go ahead and tell us about what you had done there.
So we had posted a video about 4 weeks before Hurricane Helene hit. And it was of a project that we did here in Missouri where we built a train car bridge. So this was a private rural subdivision, and they had a very large culvert washout. And for that particular project, the best solution was to build a bridge. We were able to build that bridge using a retired flatbed train car. And we posted a whole video about it, explaining how we did it and what the process was. And the video was doing pretty well. And then fast forward 4 weeks, Hurricane Helene hit. And then all of a sudden, that video blows up. That was on Facebook. And we were getting flooded with comments and messages about, what was going on in North Carolina and how those people could really use some help, especially from, a cleanup perspective and with large equipment and helping people get back to their homes, et cetera, et cetera. It was such an overwhelming response that we felt very motivated to go and do that. And so that sort of began the process of figuring out what and how. Once we decided that we were going to do that, we started to create a few other videos on all of our platforms to try to raise some awareness for it. One of the biggest questions we had was, where do we go? Who can use this? Where, you watch the news and you see the most affected areas, Asheville and Swannanoa and Bat Cave, but those places are only a small fraction of the total affected area. So I started by making a personal Facebook post, and I said, do I know anyone in North Carolina or Eastern Tennessee that has connections in storm affected areas? That could, here, and I told them what we were intending on doing, which was taking some large equipment down there to help do storm cleanup, volunteer. And so friend of a friend of a friend situation starts. And about a week on the phone finally led me to a man that was in charge of a outreach camp. That led us to being able to have a landing point for our equipment. So by this point, simultaneously, we had garnered enough interest in helping us do this that we were able to raise enough money through a GoFundMe page and donations through some of our industry partners to be able to afford to deliver 2 large pieces of equipment down there, a large excavator and then an off-road articulating haul truck to do storm cleanup with. Delivered to North Carolina and back, the equipment and enough money to pay for a crew of 5 people to take a UTV as well, a trailer load of supplies that were donated, food, water, clothing, down there and stay for a week to help. So when we got there, our equipment basically just got dropped off in a field. And then we were like, well, now it's time to see what we can do. So we started driving around looking for an opportunity to help someone. And we tried a few places, and it just, the equipment that we had didn't fit their need type of situation. And so we just made a right turn on the road. And we came across a very, very, very rural fire department. They had their doors open, and they had supplies all organized out on the floor with fire engines sitting outside. And I stopped and I got out and I walked up to a lady who looked like she was in charge. And, I said, hi, I introduced myself, and I told her what we were doing, what our intentions were, the equipment that we had. And I asked her if she knew anybody in the community that could put us to work and do some good. And she basically raised her hands, and she said, she just sort of like turned side to side, and she goes, well, here you are. And we basically stayed within eyesight of that fire department for a week, working 12-hour days. That woman turned out to be Draven's mother. By the time that we got there, it was probably 3.5 weeks after the storm. And I was told by the fire chief that woman had not hardly left that fire station other than to go home, which was across the river, in 3.5 weeks, cooking and organizing and feeding and helping. And naturally, we we met Draven there. And if you go to our TikTok, there's a whole series of videos that actually shows the initial interaction that we had with that young man. Right. And he, his school was being used to house people who had lost their homes. And so he was out of school, and I think he ended up being out of school for almost until Christmas. I think he went back 2 weeks before Christmas, I think it was. So he was at the fire station, the whole time. And during that week that we were there, we call it a buddy seat, which is basically an instructor's seat in that big off-road articulating truck. And he spent most of the week in that seat just hanging out with us, and we let him drive the truck. And, it became clear very early on that that 11-year-old boy was instrumental in keeping full-grown men sane during an incredible time, and one of the things that I think most people are so drawn to about Draven in particular and his story is how effortlessly comedic and positive he is.
Yes.
In the face of some really devastating destruction. I think he's probably lived a lot more life than most people have that are triple his age. And, he really made a huge impact on us. And that was our first trip down there.
Yeah. Well, here I am. I was, my husband and I were watching Suits, but I was just jacking around on my phone. And then I was like, what is this? What is going on? And then, it compelled me. It was the next day I called you, and I'm like, oh, just seeing, these people went through tragedy, and then they needed a helping hand. And then the fact there y'all are. And then this little boy, he loves fishing, and he's just so calm. He's just going to be a big old teddy bear. That little boy is going to be he's going to be a wonderful man. You know what I mean? And he just got a heart of gold. And I was like, well, people that are helping people like him, I want to help them. So here we are. And so this is not something that y'all have always done, are these trips to help with Mother Nature and weather problems, right? Was this your first one?
Yeah, this is our first one. This was a 100% voluntary effort. We didn't go down there seeking any type of paid contracts.
Right.
And look, the fact of the matter is, at any point in a natural disaster, at some point, money's going to have to start flowing in order to get things back the way that they're supposed to be. But initially, when it's very personal like that, I wish there were more opportunities to do good things like that. There are a lot of excavation companies that do chase storm work.
Right.
And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. We've never done that just because we've been very fortunate to have enough work at home that we didn't need to go out of state
right.
to get any kind of work. But this was the first time that we'd ever gone out of state to do any type of storm work, volunteer or otherwise.
Well, I know that social media is an amazing thing. And like, for example, I do ice water baths, and I video them, and I talk about how to have a winning attitude. And we have a horse trail riding facility, and those ice water baths are on a page that has nothing to do with the trail riding facility, and that's our main business. And then I'm a plus-size woman, and I'm just trying to get my health back. But this lady that is a podcaster, she watched one of my videos and she was so inspired that now she and I are co-hosting a podcast about helping teens with body image. So, here I was like, I'm a plus size woman getting into a water trough filled with ice and then trying to motivate other people. But the only reason I was videoing was to force myself to make sure that I did it. So I was trying to like force the, showing up for myself. But now those podcasts we just did, we're doing one a week for a mini series, and her podcast is called A Contagious Smile. Every one of her podcasts gets millions and millions of downloads. Well, now we're doing this mini series called Don't Judge Me that's helping teens, and just the intro had millions of downloads. So here is something, man, you just never know where social media is going to take you, in this snowball effect of, here was me trying to do ice water baths, and now I'm reaching out to teens to help them with having a positive body image, and y'all are you just take whatever you have and you went and you're trying to help this, this community. And then the fact that the person that you end up talking to was someone that needed help, and then they were there at the right time, So it's just amazing how life will just snowball, and it can become this amazing positive thing, but it takes action. And then with social media, sharing it, and people want to get involved and people want to be supportive, but a lot of times they don't know how, but they can with social media. You're in control of what you watch and what you like and what you comment on and what you share, and that stuff means real outcomes for other people. Like my social media now, like for the last 28 days, I've had 10.7 million views. And so I make sure that every time that I'm doing a video in an ice water bath, that I'm choosing a topic that I'm trying to help people with, and, spreading the word. Social media is a wonderful thing. A lot of people don't do it at all. And I'm like, whoo, it's not for everybody. But I don't know, you really do impact the lives of the people that you are supporting with social media, and your views really do count, and your comments really do count. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more. And, it is difficult. Even with content that, you would imagine is so positive, how could anybody have a problem with this? But you would be surprised just how much negative feedback we had to field about, videos of our cleanup efforts in North Carolina, videos of us interacting with Draven. People online can be so misinformed or so hateful that, it can be tough sometimes, but thankfully, there's usually always enough people to offset the ones that aren't very pleasant folks.
James, you're talking to a plus-size woman that's in a bathing suit in an ice water bath. You were not telling me nothing. I don't know. Yeah, I find the scuzz of the earth. So I find some pretty rough people out there. And but I will tell you, though, the amount of positive, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care the amount of negative that comes towards me. And I will tell you, some of those people that have something negative to say, I roast them. Oh, I roast them. I bring out, women in general, we do have like an evil side that we're always trying to like mask. But every now and then they find the keys to unlock that door, and I roast them, and it feels kind of good. We're not supposed to talk about guilty pleasures, but boy, I sure do like putting a person on blast. I just had to do that the other day with a lady that was, saying something about my weight. And I'm like, girl, I'm trying to save my life. I am trying to lose some weight. Okay. I'm trying to be holistic. I'm trying to sort through all the lies and the misinformation that comes to us, all the time. And I'm trying to really figure out my health. And this lady had to roast me. I clicked on her name and oh my gosh, like 4 posts down, she was talking about like, oh, we're going to church and all that. So I screenshotted it and I replied to her. I'm like, you're being mean to me. And then you're posting about going to church. I was like, classy, nice. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of people say these horrible, horrible things online because they think it's like a hall pass. They think they get away with it and it's just a little guilty pleasure and it's not ever going to come back on them. But like, man, you can find out anything on anybody now with social media.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like that lady that was roasting me about being fat ain't little. And all she does is talk about her family and church. I mean, she seems like this amazing person, but then, she just thought she had like a little guilty pleasure and going to like roast me. And I'm like, girl, don't roast me. I'm somebody's daughter. I'm somebody's wife. I'm somebody's, I used to be a school teacher. Like, don't roast me. Like, girl, you better back up. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Social media is crazy with what people think that I don't know why they feel the need. I think there's like a lack of home training or a lack of consequences for them to think that they need to open that mouth and say some stuff.
I have never in my life had anybody say anything to my face to the degree that people have said things online. And that is because they won't.
Yeah.
My dad always said something to the effect of people like that have clearly never been punched in the nose. And
I agree.
And I think after it's a little bit of a old school mindset, but once as a young man, for instance, that maybe had a wild side perhaps and ran his mouth to the wrong person in public and got checked for it, it kind of puts a different perspective in a person's head when you go, well, maybe I shouldn't say things like that because I might say them to the wrong person one day.
Well, here's what's funny. Okay, James, you've never met me in real life, and I've never met you in real life, but we're in the same state, and you do deal with some of the people that could be my clients, okay? But I moved to this state because I did women's full contact fighting, and I've been to 5 countries as a heavyweight female fighting. Like, I try to go to the Olympics. People don't see that. They see me now. I'm 45, and I'm not even 5'7", and I'm chubby. And so they just think that I sit around and make casseroles, right? I look like a casserole cooking queen, but they don't realize that, like, I fought full contact. Like, I've got all these plates and screws in my face. And the last time that I fought was, I actually started fighting last year, and I went to nationals in women's heavyweight fighting. And I'm going to fight. I fought in Florida last year, and I'll fight in Utah this year. But they don't know that. And I have a little sign in my office because social media, boy, people, you've got to have some thick skin. But the only way to get thick skin is for it to get beat up on and whipped up on, you know what I mean? You have to, it's from going through stuff where you create that thick skin. But I have a little sign in my room because whenever I used to have this girl and she talked some smack on me, and before me and her started fighting, I told her, I'm about to make a necklace out of your teeth. And she cried, and I just mopped the floor with that girl, but she'd been talking that talk, and I was like, all right, girl, I am so much more country than what you are, and you're about to have a consequence sandwich. Anyways, I made a little sign out of that, and I keep it in my office, and it helps me. And, we sell some shirts just because with our ranch, Von Holton Ranch, our trail riding facility, it was just easier for us to have a shirt business because we sold so many shirts with our name and stuff on there. But I have some empowerment shirts, and one of them says, if I'm too much, then go find less. Go find less. Go find somebody that's not going to do all of the things that we do or say the things that we do, or you can just go find somebody that doesn't care as much. You can go find somebody that doesn't, put as much pride into their work. Like, you can just go on. Like, I don't care. Today I'm releasing my new shirt that says improving, not proving. And it just seems like the world just is so done with all the fakeness. I started doing ice water baths in 23, and it seems like the gates of HELL opened with people's comments, but then I was getting rid of them. But now, after I did 300 ice baths in 23, and then I documented my observations and stuff, and then I put them on my website. And now it just seems like people are a little bit better than what they used to be, especially towards me. But I still roast the people that try to roast me. I mean, I don't do all of them. They just got to catch me on a wrong day, and then I'm like, well, that felt good. And then I'm able to move on. Like, it helps me battle the mental demons that these people are trying to awaken me or something. I don't get it. But, so tell me a little bit about your construction company. Like, how many pieces of equipment do y'all have? And do you do residential? Do you do commercial only? Like, what all do y'all do?
Well, on our normal day-to-day operations, we are, I would describe it as small to mid-size in the world of excavation companies. So that, a large-scale company would be, a company that you're going to see out on the interstate building a new overpass. And a very small scale excavation company would be the high school kid with a used skid loader that's grading your backyard.
Okay.
So we're more mid-sized, and what that looks like for us is we've got 3 excavators of varying sizes. We've got 2 skid loaders, which most people are familiar with. We've got a Caterpillar bulldozer, a dump truck, and then several other pieces of varying equipment. And then, of course, any specialty equipment that we need for a particular job where we have the ability to rent. And it's a commercial rent. You have to carry certain licensing and insurance liability, things of that nature, to have the availability to rent those. So what the majority of our business entails, we build a lot, I would say on average within a calendar year, probably 40% of our business is building recreational lakes and ponds. Okay. So that could be focused around the outdoorsman that likes to fish or hunt ducks or use it as a water supply for deer. It could be a person who has kids and wants it to be for, recreation, swimming, paddle boats. My point being that we tailor these products to meet each individual customer's needs.
Okay.
So that's about 40% of our business. The rest of it is split up between excavating basements for new construction homes. Most of those, of course, are all private, meaning they're not being general contracted for multifamily type of deals, So it's more of an all-inclusive thing. So we're septic licensed, so we can clear the trees on your new lot. We can put in your driveway. We can dig your basement, pour your foundation walls, and do your flat work. We can do your utilities, public utility tie-ins, things of that nature, and then your site grading. We also do a lot of mass land clearing. So let's say that you've purchased a piece of ground and you want to put a 5-acre food plot or a pasture on it. We do that clearing and grading. And if it's got market timber on it, we can help you get that sold as well.
Okay.
And then we do a lot of, smaller, more obscure projects. We when we initially talked, you introduced yourself, and I discovered that you were in the horse world, and we actually do a lot of excavation for horse folks when they lose a horse. That's a pretty common small service that we offer.
I will tell you that is a difficult thing for some people to get their hands on somebody that can actually do that, and they have been, man, it can wreck somebody's world. So for my horse community that is listening right now, you are near the St. Louis area, correct?
That's right. We're about 35 to 40 minutes west on I-70 from downtown St. Louis.
Okay.
Just west of Wentzville.
Okay. So if you have an equine and whenever it passes away, a lot of people, they don't think about, well, then what do we do with this body? And so you need to have a plan in action, especially if you've got older horses. It's a real bad problem to just be trying to figure out afterwards. You need to be in advance with getting some numbers and stuff. So like if something happens and it's, I don't know, 5:00 in the morning on a Saturday and you've got to, something's got to happen, or if it's whenever it is, you need to start getting a list of people that do that. And so King's Excavation is one of those people that can bury horses. Yeah, that is nothing you want to, not deal with until afterwards. You need to be proactive with that. It's not like a dog or a cat. I mean, my goodness, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So get your ducks in a row, and you want to have somebody that's already done that, and you want to, and, wherever you spend your money, I mean, these people are going and helping other people, and trying to do things right. And he's young and trying to get into this world. So, I mean, you just get to support your dollar. Where you spend your dollars at matters, and you want to have people that have good substance, because you don't want to support people that aren't, doing right in the world. And apparently they are doing right in the world. So, well, how do they get in touch with you, James?
Well, I am, obviously there's plenty of ways to reach out to us. Social media being one, it's a little bit informal, but if that's how you find us, we'll happily take you. We've got several employees here that operate a type of salesman's role, but my phone number is a great way to reach me.
Okay. So
my
they've
phone
got
number is
Facebook. Do you have a website?
Correct. We do have a website.
Okay. What is that?
That's Kings with an S, Kings Excavation STL.com. STL is in St. Louis.
Okay. Kings Excavation STL.com. Then on Facebook, it's just Kings Excavation.
Yes, ma'am.
Kings Excavation. And then they also have a phone number. All right. So, hey, let's see if you're going to be one of those people that starts off slow and then slingshots the last four. Okay. Then I have to listen to the number like 3 times. All right. So what's your telephone number?
My telephone number is 636-357-8180.
Okay. All right. So, there we go. I mean, like, just good people. I'm just, with our podcast is called Country Tough with Brandy Von Holton. And we have a magazine called Country Tough Times, and it's dedicated to trail riders. It's dedicated to patriotism, and it's dedicated to thriving during these country tough times. Well, the reason that I brought you onto this, because you were about, moving dirt and getting things done, and excavation. I mean, that right there is about people being able to create businesses and homes and getting things done. That's part of the thriving, is getting to know these blue collar fields and industry workers that are making things happen. So if that magazine sounds like something that you would like to get into, you can go to countrytoughtimes.com, and that's how you subscribe. And there's a digital and a print. And we feature, my husband's a woodworker. Okay, he has a CNC and he makes custom furniture, but he makes horse obstacles. So, like, whenever you were talking about you clear timber and sell that, and I'm like, well, and then there is how my husband, he's the wood guy and you're the dirt guy. So, usually each guy, we have an air conditioning guy as a brother, so. Mm-hmm. These blue collar fields, a lot of people used to talk down about. I remember my teachers being like, if you don't do good at this, you're just going to be a ditch digger. Well, you know what? Ditches got to be dug, and without having a ditch, it can mess you up. And they used to just tell you, like, you got to go to college, be a doctor, be a lawyer. But you know what? If your toilet doesn't flush and you got water running in your basement, you're not going to need a doctor or a lawyer for that, So
you're right.
Everybody used to just respect those white collar, and I do love some white collar. I mean, like, everybody's needed for whatever they decide they want to do with their lives. They just need to do the heck out of it and do it right. So
I agree. Yeah. Well, and you bring up a good point. I've got, there is a stigma, there still is a stigma about blue collar jobs. From an owner's perspective, if there's a young man or woman out there that's hungry enough that wants to be an owner and start an excavation company, it can be an incredibly lucrative industry to get into. And, if you're not the type of person that wants to take on that risk, maybe you're a young man or woman that's in high school and doesn't really do so great from an academic standpoint, but you've got really great skills, life skills, and you're a hard worker. I've got employees who make well over $30 an hour, nearly 40, and we're a private company. Mm-hmm. So, I strongly encourage people to get into the trades. It doesn't have to just be in excavation. It can be anything, but you meet a lot of really good people here, and you can make a lot of really good money and have a really great life, working with your hands, and it's been super rewarding for me.
Well, and you know what? We have, in our magazine, we feature people that are farriers, so they're doing horseshoes. There's like a lack of farriers, and we have saddle makers that are in there. On our website, we have a person that makes custom knives, and that is what he does. And he's got a list of people that are trying to purchase his knives. His name's Colton Kisso. He was on Forged Under Fire. Well, he actually takes some of the wood because our family farm's been in the same family since 1906, and we bought it in 2013, and then we opened the horse trail riding facility on there. But he was able to take some of that old barn wood and make it into a handle, but then put it into a resin. And then he's hand forging this out of like the railroad, not the spikes, but the actual thing that the railroad cars are on. That's what he's making his knives out of. And that man's knives are bought by all sorts of collectors, and they're just beautiful. And it's a blue, and he taught himself. He's a first generation bladesmith. Like, it's just amazing what, if you have a passion about something and you like being outside or you like working with your hands, there's a whole world for you that wants you. Okay, so don't think that you're lesser. And most of my, my husband, like with him being a woodworker, you know how much money he has saved us with being able to do his own stuff, like being able to build our own house. So like sometimes he might not make as much money, but he's saving money, which, making some money and saving money means that you really made more money because you didn't have to spend it. So I just wanted to introduce y'all to James and thank y'all for tuning into Country Tough with Brandy Von Holton.